So Iran just fired on 85 American targets in two countries. And here's the part nobody's really talking about. It skipped the biggest one on purpose. Qatar hosts the largest American base in the entire region. Al Udeid is the command center for the whole war. But zero missiles landed there. Zero. So now, if you're picturing Iran as some corner animal just lashing out at anything American it can reach, that number should bother because a corner animal doesn't check the address before it bites. So let's actually walk through the last 48 hours. And I promise you, the interesting part is not the explosions. It's the ones that did not happen. Because here's the setup. Iran and the US had a fragile ceasefire since June, a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and let some oil sales resume. That deal is pretty much dead now. Iranian missiles and drones hit tankers in the strait, a Qatari one, a Saudi one, and a couple others. Now, the US answered with strikes on more than 80 Iranian sites, air defenses, radars, small boats, the works. And then Iran hit back at Bahrain and Kuwait, the two countries hosting the biggest American military footprint in the Gulf. Sirens went off 4 separate times in Bahrain because the sun was even properly up. Trump, speaking from a NATO summit, said the ceasefire is over and called dealing with Tehran a waste of time. So that's the news part. Anyone can read the news, but here's what actually interesting. And it is a trick I use on every one of these stories. You don't look at where the missiles landed. You look at where they very specifically didn't. So, 3 places got spared, and each one tells you something Iran would never say out loud. The first one, Al Udeid, the giant American base in Qatar. You would think that that's target number 1 if you're trying to hurt America. That makes sense, right? It's the biggest one there is. That's what common sense would say, but Iran left it alone. So why would you skip the softest, biggest, most symbolic target in the whole map? Well, it turns out that Qatar has spent years being the back channel. The country, both sides call when they need someone to talk to the other side quietly. And you don't burn down the phone booth you're planning to use again next week. So hitting Qatar means the negotiation is actually dead. So not hitting Qatar means somebody in Tehran is still leaving the door open, even while they're kicking down every other door in the building. The second one is the UAE, which is home to another major American base, and also it was completely untouched. Now here's what makes it make sense. The UAE is basically Iran's escape hatch from its own sanctions, which is exactly why a UAE official was able to go on record and call Iran incapable of de-escalating in language sharper than almost anyone else in the region use in these days. So you can only talk that tough at someone when you both know they need you too much to actually hurt you. Now, the third one, and this is one that actually surprised me, is not a country, but the timing. All of this happened during the funeral for Iran's supreme leader, who was killed back in February. So you have the mourning period, the official pause on everything, and someone still ordered 85 missiles. So we're talking about that decision made without the one voice that's supposed to make decisions like this. So the IRGC put out the statements. Parliament's speaker did the defiant quotes. But nobody named an actual decider. And when nobody names the decider, you should assume there's a fight happening backstage over who gets to be the decider next. And this whole barrage might be as much of an audition as it is a message to Washington. Now, let's talk about the tanker attacks specifically. Because the tanker are the clearest example of a pattern that shows up over and over in how regimes bluff without ever technically lying. Iran never actually claimed those tanker strikes. State television just said one of the ships ignored a warning. That's it. But it's, everyone on earth knows it was Iran. Iran knows everyone knows. And Iran still won't say the word. So you have like a gap where the truth is obvious, everybody knows it, but nobody with power says it out loud or does something useful for whoever's hiding in that gap. So that lets Iran enforce its own shipping toll without ever technically admitting it broke the ceasefire. You now understand how this works. So the doubt itself is doing the enforcing. So here's what to actually watch for going forward. And this is the part I would bet money on. Yeah, metaphorically. Everything Iran has done so far is calculated. So you spare the mediator, Qatar, spare the economic lifeline, UAE, hit the two places least able to hit back on their own. So that is not the behavior of a regime that's out of options. That is more like a regime still counting its cards. But the US just canceled Iran's oil waiver with a full wind down of Iranian oil sales set for July 17th. And yeah, that is removing whichever cards are left. So if a country with no cards left starts acting exactly like a country that's carefully counting cards, someone's model is wrong. And it's usually the side that assumed pressure always makes the other guy fold. So what to actually watch for? And I mean this literally, is whether the next round of the strike crosses one of Iran's own lines. If you see them attacking Qatari soil, if you see them attacking UAE assets, if you see them attacking actual energy infrastructure on land, if any of those get hit, the calculating phase is over, and we're watching something a lot more dangerous begin. So there's a mirror version of this risk sitting on the American side too, and I need to mention it. The working assumption from Washington seems to be that every time you hit Iran hard enough, Iran eventually falls. Iran's own parliament speaker already answered that assumption directly, saying that flat out that they don't fold. Yeah, don't fold. Now, maybe that's just talk, the kind every government says right before it actually does fold. We have seen that 100 times. But if the strikes keep landing and the behavior on the other side never actually changes, that's not a sign the plan is working slower than expected. That is, the model itself, it might be wrong, but the same way believing you can bomb a stubborn enemy into a specific timeline has gone wrong for pretty much every country that has ever tried it. It doesn't work all the time. So a leader who keeps expecting the same reaction, no matter how many times reality disagrees with him, is not registering reality. And that's its own kind of dangerous on either side of this thing. So until then, every missile that lands exactly where it's supposed to and nowhere else, it's Iran telling you very quietly that it still thinks it has a hand to play. So, if you want my deeper analysis on geopolitics and the behavior of the people who run the world, go check my blog, thepowerpundit.com. I can say things there that I prefer not to say anywhere else. Link in description. And share this video with your family and friends so they know what's really going on. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Power Pundit. Much love and bliss.